Hey everybody, welcome to Caffeinated Campaigns, the show where we talk to leaders and marketers in growth about their most impactful learnings along the way. Here I'm with James Gilbert, Chief Marketing Officer at Flip. Thanks for being with us, James.
Thanks for having me, Doug. I have a question for you. I mean, how'd you come up with this podcast name?
It was completely random. So I have this thing where my agency is called Campaign Cats. And I'm like, all right, so I need to go ahead and keep up with the alliteration and something that sounds cool, catchy. Campaign Cats, Caffeinated Campaigns, it's all stuff like that.
But I love the creativity. Here's the next question, Doug. What's
Yeah.
your choice of caffeine?
Tea. I actually have a cup of tea right here.
Hey, there you go.
I figured once I get, go ahead.
Yours is tea. You know, if I really need like a real jolt of caffeine,
Mhm.
I'm gonna drink a pre-workout.
Valid, completely valid, because that'll get you right there. Boom, right there. Concentrated caffeine. My thought was that when I get bigger, all of my guests, I'll just say, "Hey, what's your favorite caffeine?" Just send it to them, and then we'd be drinking it on the video. But I haven't got that big of cool yet.
Hey, you know, you don't need to be big to be cool. Come on, Doug.
Valid, valid, valid. All right. So when I get more revenue, is the right answer.
Hey, you know what they say? I mean, we'll talk about this on this show. And you know, when you can create a wow moment in a campaign, that's what gets people want to tell their story to others. Is that wow moment? So just saying, like, I think you're onto something there.
James is telling me that I need to start doing what I would do if I had all the resources that I think I should have. All right, James, take a note. You'll be the first one that will receive your favorite caffeinated campaign after this.
Oh, I'm just playing with you. Gotta have fun.
No, it's good.
Things,
it's
right?
good. Yeah, gotta have fun. Gotta have fun. All right, so we want to get, now we got a little bit of your personality, which is great. Also, give us a little bit about your background. Let us know who we're talking to today.
So I am a 3-time CMO with 2 successful exits. So I've had an opportunity to go lead the show as a marketer, lead marketer, and 2 acquisitions. One of them with Cisco, which was fun. So also I've spent my entire career really in marketing and on the data side. So like grew into a CMO position really by understanding the data behind the scenes before it became like a really big thing. And now they have like RevOps and all this like stuff and an actual career path for that. There was not a career path when I was growing up with this stuff. And so my goal was to try and always be the person that people could rely on when it came to insights and things that they needed to know about their own functions. Which just helped me learn how to navigate and communicate cross-functionally with other departments. I've, co-authored a book. I'm a 4 times podcast host currently as well. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. And I'm a dad of 4. I'm a Star Wars nerd, and I love the Utah Jazz.
All right. Everybody, if James is single, you got his whole profile right now.
There you go.
Okay, awesome. What book did you co-author?
It's called Leading Through the Pandemic. I'm not a big writer. That's not a cup of tea that I drink a lot of. But I wanted to get better at it. And so I met with a bunch of individuals and leaders that were in the thick of like trying to help people move through that situation, and wrote a chapter in that book. And yeah, it was fun.
All right. I'm going to have to go look that up. Is it on Amazon?
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right. I'm buying it. Thank you. All right. So get to the meat of the conversation, the fun part. Well, the more fun part, the learning part, educational part, whatever you want to call it. Talk about our most impactful learning. It seems like you probably have a whole lot with all the background there. So let's start at the top and just go through things.
Yeah. So I'll give you like the very first thing I think everyone should focus on when it comes to like any company you're at.
Yeah.
They will always have problems with data.
Yes.
I promise you. I also spent a considerable amount of my career on the side consulting for large businesses and helping them structure and architect their data. So my piece of advice for you is like, you cannot get your data clean enough. You cannot govern it enough. and you cannot have enough sources of it to validate what you're using.
Okay.
A lot of people, for example, will use one single source of truth. Like they'll go and use like Zoom Info, or they'll use a Seamless,
Yeah.
and they'll use one source of truth for it. And I'm telling you, they cannot keep up with the amount of change that is happening in the market, the amount
Mm.
of turnover from jobs just in general. They can't keep up with it.
Yeah.
So the best thing for you to do is to triangulate that. That's a good rule of thumb when it comes to any data is you triangulate the data. You need at least 3 sources and no less than 3 sources of data to make sure
Hmm.
it's valid.
Wow. Because I just, to your point, we set the single source of truth. Most of the time it's in my field, it's the email marketing platform, and
Yep.
then like for example, HubSpot claims that their tracking is awesome and blah 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 blah, and it's like, all right, we're gonna go with HubSpot reporting. And so I always tell people that it's not the tool that's most accurate; it's the tool that you want to trust. So pick one.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, but I mean, what creates trust, right? It's usually what creates trust is the thing that gives you the best result.
Yeah,
And that's usually how trust is instilled. So, like these platforms out there, they're great for what they do, but they have limitations across all of them because they're data platforms and they only
yeah.
have a tiny piece of the bigger pie. And in order to get to that pie, you need that. So, I would say that's the first learning that I've learned is like, I would not be in a C suite position today.
Mhm.
Like I'll repeat that. I would not be in a C-suite position today as young as I am because I'm a much younger CMO than a lot of people are.
Yeah.
And I would not be in this position if it wasn't for the fact that I mastered that. I mastered the data side of the house,
Okay.
knowing how to architect it. Um, by the way, that's like what everything is stemmed from.
Yeah.
This is why functions of the business are being created for RevOps, so that they can be more efficient. We're going to see this a lot more in 2023 too, with businesses making the cuts that they're making.
Yeah.
They need their businesses to be more efficient. And the best way to do that is cleaner and more efficient data that can be accessible.
Okay. So based on that, for people that are listening, what off the top of your head, what 3 tools would you use to triangulate the data?
Ooh, what 3 tools would I use? See, I'm not big into just bringing on tools.
Okay.
I think you got to get your hands dirty. You got to extract that data. I think in a lot
Ah,
of ways, you got to clean that stuff in Excel. Like you got to be old school with some of this. And I know
yeah.
some people have so many rows of data that like that's impossible, but like you
Mm.
can do it through SQL and you can do it through like coding through Python. You can do all of that. It's possible. You
Do
don't
it
need
the
to be a
hard
data.
way.
Yeah, you don't need to be a data scientist though to do it.
You
Like
don't.
you can hire somebody in Upwork to clean it for you over a weekend, and your entire database will be cleaned.
Yeah.
Why would you
Yeah.
not want to do that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like you can certainly go the tool route for sure. Like I think that like there's niche tools that are coming up like Lucia, for example.
Okay.
Lucia is a great tool to get contact information because it ties directly to LinkedIn. Well,
Mm.
if you serve an audience that's not on LinkedIn, then you probably can't use Lucia, right? But
Yeah.
guess what? I got news for you. Zoom Info, Seamless, a lot of them also pull some of their data from LinkedIn as well. So you're getting like this again tiny piece of the pie. And I think that to triangulate it in an efficient way where you're not going to be spending, I don't know, $100,000
Hmm.
of your budget. Um, I think you got to go a little bit more niche. Work with the Lucias. There's a few of them that are out there, and
Yeah.
you tack those on together. One gives you really strong data out of LinkedIn. Another one gives you really strong contact data. Another one gives you really good firmographic data on the account. Now you're humming. Now you're in business.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. What you said earlier resonated with me quite a bit, though. I taught myself Python and SQL just because, like, what? I don't trust these tools. It's a black box. I don't know if I can actually do it. So just pulled it down and got it in Excel, got it in CSV to just figure stuff out. And like, woo. And it's to your point, getting the ability to just manipulate basic data, not code, just manipulate the data, find the insights. That's easy. You can learn that in probably a week, of borderline on Python. And most people just don't want to do it. They think it's a foreign language, but it's not. It's not. It's still English, just structured differently.
Yeah. I tell you, like even today, uh, it's not like in my scope of responsibility as a
Mm.
CMO to do some of this ops work. But even today, like I miss doing it so much that like I'll reach out to our RevOps person. I'll be like, hey, our data is looking a little sketchy here. You mind if I just like clean it up real quick? And
The good old
I
days,
can't,
relive the good times, right?
yeah, and she's fantastic. She's like one of the best out there. And I will extract it, put it in Excel, and I can get stuff done a lot faster. And by the way, this is like pulling it directly out of HubSpot. You always got to make sure you have your IDs so that you
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
reference that and you're not duplicating the data.
Mm.
But I think more people need to be spending more time with the data. And I think this goes across the entire marketing function in particular. Like you have content people that don't have a clue how to read a report. You have SEO people and all they know how to do is talk SEO, but they don't know how to talk about the rest of the stuff that matters. Like, I don't know, sometimes it's conversion, sometimes it's pipeline, sometimes it's revenue,
Yeah.
sometimes it's just engagement, right? You need people that are willing and capable around you to also be as mindful of the data as possible, because more than ever, investors are challenging people to show them in the data.
To your point, I talked to somebody a couple weeks ago, and he's a CMO as well, and he said whenever he talks to vendors or anybody on his team, he automatically asks them to think beyond, their specific function. Like he's like
Mm-hmm.
his goal is to get everybody on his team to be able to think 360. Like, all right, yeah, your skill set may be in this one particular thing, but you have to think about how what you do downstream and upstream is going on.
Yeah, you have impact. I mean, that's one learning. Another learning that I would say, and we kind of talked about this in the very beginning of the podcast,
Yeah,
you really have to be unconventional with your marketing.
yeah,
If there was, how everyone has kind of an MO, like a thing that they're
yeah.
known for. I guess this is kind of my thing that I'm a little bit known for, is my
Mm.
unconventional approaches to marketing. I've been brought on into early stage, seed stage, and Series A, consulted through Series A through Series D, and helped create some of the coolest campaigns you'll ever read about. Like we're running run right now at Flip,
Mm-hmm.
where we took the concept of March Madness and we wanted to tackle the problem that we all have in calling customer support and service. We all hate it.
Yeah,
Every single person in this world hates it. They hate pushing one, they hate pushing two, and then going through another loop. And that's an
yeah.
IVR. So we're like, you know what? We're going to go hear people's stories, get them to record a video of people doing, calling in an IVR or telling us their story. And then we're going to have a bracket challenge. And whoever wins the craziest IVR story through
Yeah.
like our IVR madness is going to win some cash. Right.
Yeah, I just looked the campaign up. That is pretty cool. I'm looking at it right now.
Like this is the kind of stuff we do. When I was at Cloud Cherry back in 2014 and 2015, we created this campaign called CX Champions,
Yeah,
where we wanted to recognize good work that people were doing in customer experience. So we did. We got these influencers in. They came in and were the judges. This was before customer experience was a really big thing.
yeah.
And we knew that people that were trying to build a career in customer experience, they couldn't because they weren't being seen in that light. So the
Hmm.
best way to make people seen in that light is give them the platform to be seen and heard. So
Yeah.
we did. We gave them a platform to be seen and heard. We created these unique wrestling belts. Like, no kidding. Like, still to this day, I get people reaching out to me like, where can I get one of those? We created these wrestling belts,
Yeah.
and the winners won these wrestling belts. And we did it for like almost 3 years before we got acquired by Cisco.
Okay.
And even Cisco loved it so much that they wanted to continue it, which tells you like there's proof to that, right?
Yeah.
We did another campaign at one of the previous companies that I was at that called CRM Next, and we it was in the thick of the pandemic, and so like you couldn't do a lot of good video production. But somebody on our team came up with this really good idea to make a dating game like virtually through
Okay.
Zoom. So we hired these actors and actresses
Yeah.
to be on this Zoom and to act out our competitors. So we had one actor that was one of our competitors and another actress that was one of our competitors.
Mm.
And you have this idea of people going to like G2 Crowd and they look at like, here's the competition. I'm going to look at like the comparisons, and businesses get so stuffy in sending people down the exact same path that, like, Doug, you probably get sent down the exact same path. It's just different with a different company, but it's the exact same, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to make that different. So we were like, you know what? We sold the CRM at that company. And so we wanted people to date a CRM, because CRM is about relationships, is it
Yeah.
not? I mean, relationships is in the name.
Yeah.
And we called it the Banklorette because it was for financial services.
Okay.
And we literally had this dating game and this video series that people wanted to be a part of.
Mm.
And at a certain point, we would send them a physical rose that could last up to 5 years. Literally, like, you can get these on Amazon, and this
Yeah.
rose would last up to 5 years. And the message behind the send was, CRM is about relationships, and we want to have a relationship with you, and this is why you should have a relationship with us. Right?
Yeah.
It was one of the it was one of the funnest campaigns that I've ever been a part of, and done. And it was so well received that people that weren't even our target audience, keep in mind, we got really good with our data there, that we, like, no one would actually get the campaign. So the only way that they would hear about it is through word of mouth.
Yeah.
And we were primarily targeting financial services industries.
Yeah.
And I was hearing about it from people in B2B tech. Like, people were reaching out, be like, hey, can I just be part of this campaign? I just want to see how it runs. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's all about. It's creating unconventional moments for people to remember you and catch their attention. And I think more than ever, we're going to have to do that. Like, you're seeing this creator economy be created before our eyes. These
Yeah.
people on LinkedIn creating video, and it's got to happen for brands. Like, you're not going to be able to stand out anymore without doing it.
Yeah. You got to be the most. It reminds me of how Purple Mattress got big, because they disrupted a stale, age-old economy. Mattresses, like, who cares about buying mattresses? And they just came out. They were actually one of my clients like 5 years ago, when I was working at a different company, and I was a part of the campaign where they Facebook live stream all the stuff that they were dropping on the mattress. And I'm
Yep.
just like, you guys are just fun. It's just fun just to sit here, just be a part of it. And then, of course, they got big and, went corporate and blah, 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 blah. But, it worked to get them where they are now.
Well, I mean, people think that there's also always going to be a quick turnaround to revenue and pipeline
Yeah.
on this stuff. And there's not always that. Like, it takes an evolution, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your Purple Mattress is a perfect example. I mean, think about some of the other weird ones. Like, okay, here's a good one for you. Like the Squatty Potty commercial. Like, it's a
Yeah.
freaking unicorn, right? It's all this weird stuff, but you remember it.
Yeah.
And now every time you go to the bathroom, you're thinking about it,
The Squatty
right?
Potty.
And
I know an even weirder one from when I was a child. Quiznos Subs did a commercial with hamsters with big popping eyes, and it was like the
oh
really,
yeah,
yes. I've always remembered that Quiznos Subs. To this day,
yeah.
like, I don't know if Quiznos still exists, but I still remember that commercial.
But that's a perfect example. I think B2C brands or direct to consumer brands have
Yeah.
done this better than anyone. And
Yeah.
it's time for B2B brands to learn that part of it. Like, B2C brands also came up with jingles like, give me a break, give me a break. Like, you
Yeah.
remembered that. Even though you may not have ever liked a Kit Kat, you would certainly remember the song, and it would be
Yeah.
top of mind for you every single time you were trying to pick a candy bar.
Yeah.
And that's the point. Is if you're going to grow at a fast pace, you need to be top of mind for people, which means you need to create the demand that's necessary. And there's all this talk about like how you create demand, category creation, all that's like great. But ultimately, you still need to have mind share. And to
Yeah.
gain people's mind share today, it's about entertainment. It's about making them laugh. It's about just stupid stuff, honestly. Like, that's going to get them to remember you. And you
Yeah.
have to be willing to take the risk.
That's 100% valid. You make me feel a little guilty about not taking advantage of the names that I came up with. Because there's so much mind share there just to send people stuff and talk about stuff. Caffeinated Campaign, it's so easy. It's like, all right.
I mean, like, it is what it is. You'll get there.
Yeah.
Then I would say the last thing that has been a learning moment is as the like investors, me included, have changed their minds in how businesses need to run. Like it's no longer about like just growth at all costs, and we've all heard this.
Yeah.
And it's now about efficient growth. And to efficiently grow, you really, really need to focus on the customer, which is not anything that we've like all of us have heard that, but you got to actually spend time. You got to spend time with them. You got to understand what they're needing. Not only that, but I think that um, you have to do things that don't cost money in order to grow. So you
Okay.
have to be active on LinkedIn through organic. You have to do email. That's one of the cheapest channels that you can do
Yeah.
growth marketing in. And by the way, it's a great opportunity for you to test out being creative and quirky and weird and seeing if it works is through email.
Yeah.
Test your subject lines, see if your quirkiness is going to work there. So I think that's been a big learning fairly recently too, is just like if you had no budget, how would you do marketing?
Yeah. It would
Like
be a
literally,
grind. Yeah.
because there are people out there that have their budgets almost at zero and they're still doing great marketing. Like I can tell you, us at Flip, we're preparing to get another round. And so to prepare to get another round, what do you have to do? You have to keep your CAC low, your cash
Hmm.
balance high. Well, to keep your CAC low and your cash balance high, you got to pretty much spend nothing.
Yeah.
And we're doing it, and we're having a lot of fun doing it, and it's yielding results. It might not be yielding like an amplification of the results that you would traditionally see if you had that combined with like paid and all these other
Hmm.
channels, but ultimately like efficient growth isn't about like just hitting this massive growth number. It's about doing it in an efficient way to where the rest of the business doesn't suffer.
Efficient growth. That's something you haven't heard in quite a long time, but it's real now. It's like, yeah, man. I've
It
talked to
really is.
yeah, I talked to a couple companies recently, and they're talking about, oh, we want to raise around. I'm like, well, they wanted to help me get their email marketing in place. They seem all good, so they have all the stuff taken up. So when they go to raise, everything looks good, right? And I'm like, well, you don't have any of the pieces in place, and da da da. Like, oh, well, our revenue is dropping. It's dropping because of you're not thinking of the full 360 picture, and you're not looking at the data. You're thinking that, oh, you just start emailing the same people over and over again. You're gonna start getting money from there because they think, if for some reason people think that things that aren't paid are easy, and it's like, all right, that doesn't make sense. Okay, I'm gonna post a couple times and then I'm gonna get results. That's not life.
it's it's true. This actually, I would go so far to say the hardest channels I think to create engagement with take the most time, and they are the unpaid channels.
Yeah.
I think, like for example, email. I think it's it's so busy, right? And people get so much email that's exactly why I'm saying like it's a perfect opportunity for you to test a unique unconventional approach to something,
Yeah.
or getting your POV in a way that's entertaining out there in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, James, I I feel like we could go on and on, but those were awesome. And you don't want to be here 6 hours because I want to respect your time. So let's wrap this up with a your personal question of, if you had 3 years to live, what would you want to hope to accomplish professionally or personally?
I think it boils down to one thing for me.
Oh.
I I would make it my life's mission. Like I would just I want people to be kinder to each other.
Yeah.
It sounds so simple, but like it's hard. Like I would probably spend 100% of my time just serving people. I like get a lot of joy out of that.
Okay.
It's like I put most of those things aside that are probably more selfish in nature, just to serve people. I think that the world needs more of that. I think people need more kindness around them at all times and in all interactions.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple thing to do. You know, that's what
Yeah.
I would do.
You are right. I heard a similar, not similar answer, but the more I talk to people on this podcast, the more like deep answers I get. You know, people talk, oh yeah, I want to finish my business and sell it. You know, I want to do that. And then I get to people like you. And then somebody said last week when I was talking to them, they said, I just want to laugh. Like if I can spend the rest of these 3 years just laughing, that would be a perfect way to go. I'm just like, that's my mind can't even go down that path to fathom like how you get to that answer. Because like you said, the first thought is like, all right, selfish things. I want to experience. I want to travel. I want to eat. I want to do all the stuff that I couldn't do. But you know, serving other people and leaving the world better than you came it is what better way is there to leave a legacy?
I agree. I don't think there's any bigger impact you can make on a person than, showing them kindness.
Yeah,
Like, because that's just so rare.
it is. Everybody's and you what I was talking to my wife about this the other day. I said, I don't think people are inherently evil. They're just more focused on them. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're not even thinking enough to be mean to you. It's just like, oh, I'm focused on myself. So it is what it is.
Yeah, they're just not mindful, right?
Yeah,
And there's some really good books out there about mindfulness that are worth it. But it's something that, yeah, I just think it would solve so much.
it would. Simply being kind. What's the
show
golden
more,
rule?
show more love and less hate. That's really it.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to end it. Show more love and less hate people. All right. This has been James Gilbert, and James is awesome. Thank you for listening to Caffeinated Campaigns, and we'll see you next time.